Welcome to gorgeous British Columbia at the home of the Canadian champions. It is the Vancouver Whitecaps playing host to the reigning MLS Cup champions and Supporter Shield winners LAFC in the quarterfinals of the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League here in 2023. As BC plays should be rocking for what is an enticing fixture and is always going to be interesting with two Major League Soccer sides, of course, with all of the mechanisms that are built around the teams and parity and making sure they're on a level playing field. Despite the fact that LAFC might be coming in as heavy favorites, you can never write off a group like Vancouver who have that underdog mentality about them under Vanni Sartini. Tyler Tarrans along with you tonight. So glad you're tuning in from wherever you might be. And we will take a look back to the round of 16 for both of these sides. And we will begin with the Vancouver Whitecaps and their win over Real España over the course of two legs. And after their dismantling of the first leg, they were able to really cruise and roll out a younger, less experienced lineup against this Real España side who clearly struggled at times, but Brian White and Vancouver were really able to put the pressure on and make sure that this thing never really was in contention, despite a gritty performance from the home side. But the first leg really set up Vancouver for what would be a relatively easy walk in the park here, and that is no pun, especially with the goal from Simon Becher, who has been having quite the past couple of weeks. But Real España and Getzel Montes were resilient in their effort and fought to the very last whistle, but it would end up being a 7-3 aggregate win for Vanni Sartini's side as they are looking to get back to the semifinals for the first time since the 2016-17 edition of Concacaf Champions League. Meanwhile, for the reigning MLS Cup champions and what Vanni Sartini calls the best team in North America right now, although I think Tigres, the Mexican outfit, would have something to say about that. Their road was relatively similar to that of Vancouver in the second leg against Alajuelense. They got their work done in the first leg thanks to a hat-trick from Dennis Bouanga, but it ended up being Alajuelense who would end up taking the lead through Giancarlo Gonzalez, and they did have life for a brief moment, particularly the early nature of the goal, and some shoddy goalkeeping made things even that much more interesting. Aaron Suarez with the second one for the Costa Rican side, who are always going to fight to the very last whistle. But then this would do it. Carlos Vela just simply doing what the Mexican does, and that is composure in the final third, and that would seal the deal for LAFC in the 32-52 at BMO, exploding into raptures as Steve Cherundolo's side would cruise to a 4-2 win in the aggregate. And here is a look at the bracket after, of course, the round of 16, and now we have had some results that have gone the way of the likes of the Philadelphia Union with a 1-0 lead over Atlas in their first leg of the quarterfinal, and then most recently Tigres with a win in their Motagua fixture in the quarterfinals as well. For this Vancouver side, currently 1-3-2 in Major League Soccer play, sitting in 9th place, 10 goals for, 7 goals against, sitting on 6 points, relatively pedestrian from Vanni Sartini's side. However, this is a group that has the capability to be able to score goals at a high clip, and they can be resilient defensively when they want, but that seems to be the trick for the Italian head coach. But he is well aware of what LAFC bring to the table, just how talented this group is, and they are 3-2-0. They have not lost a game yet in Major League Soccer play, coming off of a 0-0 draw against the Colorado Rapids at altitude. We'll get to starting 11s in just a moment and talk about the rotation for one team and the lack of rotation for another, which certainly could play a part in tonight's tale here in British Columbia. And the fans here in Vancouver looking for a similar run that they saw in the 16-17 version of this competition, where they got to the semifinals and they were eventually ousted by Tigres by a score of 4-1 on the aggregate. And the two sides making their way out onto the field here at BC Place. It is the Canadian champions Vancouver Whitecaps and the reigning MLS Cup champions and ever dangerous Los Angeles FC in the first leg of the quarterfinals of the 2023 Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. just about ready for kickoff between LAFC and the Vancouver Whitecaps in the quarterfinals of the 2023 Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. Tyler Terran's on hand. So glad to have you with us wherever you might be tuning in. Let's take a look at the starting 11 for Vanni Sartini in the home side. The Whitecaps, who are making 8 changes from their 3-2 loss against Real España in the second leg of the round of 16. 4 changes from their 5-0 win over Canadian rivals Club de Foot Montreal. Russell Tybert is going to get his first start of the 2023 season in all competitions, coming off of ankle surgery in October, and he is going to captain this side. Brian White will be playing in the number 9 role, and he is the goal-scoring threat up top for the Italian manager. Meanwhile, this LAFC group, so talented, and Steve Cherundolo rolling out one of probably the strongest lineups you'll see from the black and gold all season. Carlos Vela, the Mexican, is going to captain this side. Of course, with the tie-sealing goal against Alajuelense in the second leg of the round of 16, despite a valiant effort from the Costa Ricans. And Vancouver feeling themselves at the moment after a 5-0 win over Montreal. Fernando Guerrero of Mexico is our head referee for tonight's affair, and he is flanked by Ibrahim Martinez and Michel Espinoza, and of course the 4th official, Daniel Quintero, an all-Mexican refereeing crew. VAR very much in effect in this competition, and could certainly play a role. And there is a look at what goes on in what I guess you could call the war room. Eric Miranda and Diana Perez are going to be in charge of all video reviews for these 90 minutes here in British Columbia. Now it's time for the visitors' starting 11 for Steve Cherundolo. Just one change from their 0-0 draw at altitude against the Colorado Rapids. And they were going to make 4 changes from the 2-1 loss against Alajuelense at BMO Stadium just a couple of weeks ago. Carlos Vela will captain this side. Diego Palacios is going to get the start at the left back position, along with Aaron Long and Jesus Murillo at the center back positions. Vanni Sartini, of course, in his second full season in charge of the Vancouver Whitecaps after taking over from Marc Dos Santos in the 2021 season. Got them on a roll towards the end of 2021 and qualified for the postseason. Missed out on the promised land last year. Meanwhile, Steve Cherundolo, a lot of people believe that he probably should have won Coach of the Year in Major League Soccer last year, but put all those question marks to bed by winning MLS Cup in one of the greatest finals in North American history against the Philadelphia Union last year. Carlos Vela, always the man to watch in any competition. And the 34-year-old from Cancun, already with a goal and a couple of assists in Major League Soccer play, as Fernando Guerrero gets us underway from Vancouver. We invite you to turn off the world and turn on the game. It is the first leg of the quarterfinals of the 2023 Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League from British Columbia. LAFC, just 1 win in 5 all-time visits to BC Place. And the all-time fixtures list at a dead draw between these two sides, going back to when LAFC entered the league in 2018, 4-4-3. And despite all of the pundits and all of the writers pegging LAFC as heavy favorites coming into this contest, there are a few, particularly those who are north of the border in Canada, who believe that the Vancouver Whitecaps have a very real chance to progress and knock off the David of Major League Soccer. Vancouver electing to go with this Christmas tree formation of 4-3-2-1 of sorts, with Ryan Gauld and Christian Daume playing as the central attacking midfielders underneath Brian White. LAFC going with their standard 4-3-3, as Aaron Long, the U.S. international, will see it out of play. LAFC, just one of a few teams in Major League Soccer who have yet to lose this season. That includes Minnesota United and FC Cincinnati, as Vancouver with some early defending, as LAFC electing to go a bit more direct on their opening sequence. Good play from Ryan Hollingshead. And Apuku couldn't quite cast it under his spell, and Aaron Long nodding it down for Murillo, who was a little bit quick, and it's intercepted by Julian Gressel. The German who has made stops at Atlanta United and DC United before finding his way to Vancouver and enjoying a bit more of a central role under Vanni Sartini this year. Gressel. Kubas finding Daume. Kubas switching the point of attack. It's Ryan Raposo. 24-year-old from the Toronto area, slipping and conceding possession back to LAFC. 1-4 all-time at BC Place. And of course, their accolades and success since coming into Major League Soccer in 2018. No surprise to anyone, given the support that they have in their ownership group and just how attractive of a destination Los Angeles can be for any professional footballer in all four corners of the world. Kellen Acosta. Breaking a line and finding Vela. Intercepted by Tybert. It'll stay with the visitors, though. And LAFC happy to be patient here. Not even 4 minutes in, and hitting Vancouver back into their own section of the field, despite the Whitecaps being the home side. But Vancouver do like to play on the break, and they certainly have the speed and the talent to hit you on the counterattack with pace and with venom. Acosta again. Just clipping one in. It's a delicious ball as Bouanga was trying to lay it off. And the clearance was not a convincing one from the former LAFC man, Tristan Blackman, the 26-year-old from Las Vegas, Nevada. Alex said formerly of FC Dallas, made over 200 appearances in Texas from 2014 to 2021. Kellen Acosta needed to be careful there, and Vancouver utilizing this opportunity as a pressing chance and to be able to force LAFC to go long, and that's exactly what they did. But a crunching challenge from Tillman in the middle of the park, and here comes Opoku. But a heavy touch allows Vancouver to retain possession. Bit nervy from both groups in the early stages of this game, just 5 minutes in. And Fernando Guerrero pointing in the direction of Vancouver. Ryan Gauld with the challenge. Here is Blackman. Wearing number 6 for Vancouver tonight, and playing at the center back position alongside Ranko Veselinovic, 24-year-old from Serbia. Here's the Japanese keeper, Yohei Takaoka. Raposo. Kubas. Javane Brown. Gauld laying it off. This is good football from Vancouver. Gauld couldn't quite bring it down. And snuffed out by Aaron Long, LAFC and company. Dennis Bouanga had a hat-trick in the round of 16 first leg against Alajuelense, and that really was enough to be able to see LAFC through into the quarterfinals. Blackman picking out Raposo. Step from Murillo. Almost stayed in play for Bouanga. 28-year-old from Le Mans, France. Came over from Saint-Etienne. 97 appearances and 26 goals in Liga before a $5.5 million transfer fee. Ilie. Now Hollingshead. Former Sporting Kansas City man Ilie Sanchez. Spaniard, such a calming presence in the middle of the field. Direct run being made by Kellen Acosta, able to keep possession. Tillman. Hollingshead in a more central role. Likes to do that drift and come inside and overload the midfield. And Vancouver feeling the repress and couldn't quite clear their lines and connect a pass to be able to force LAFC to drop numbers back in behind the ball. And a little bit lazy from LAFC in possession and taken right back by the home side. Veselinovic towards Brian White. Now here's Ryan Gauld on the move. Tried to slip it through. Didn't necessarily get a clean purchase on it. Not even sure if it would have reached Dahomey.
Come on, Timmy.
Twillman switching the point of attack for Diego Palacios, 23-year-old from Guayaquil, Ecuador. Buanga. Fending off Tybert. Vela. Good defensive work from Ryan Gauld, the 27-year-old from Aberdeen, Scotland, tracking all the way back and fulfilling his defensive responsibilities. Now Brian White with the hold-up play, former member of the New York Red Bulls. And first legs in this competition can always be a bit of a nervy affair, particularly those who share the same domestic league, and that is the situation we find ourselves with between LAFC and Vancouver. Yet to see each other in regular season play in 2023. But as we mentioned before, it has been a historically even matchup between the two sides. And especially at home, Vancouver have been on top of their game with the black and gold. Travel to British Columbia as Ryan Hollingshead into a dangerous spot. Now Tillman. Aaron Long. Beautiful first touch from Tillman. Hollingshead. Ilie in some space. Now Vela. Kellen Acosta fancied himself from distance, and it was a block in front of Yohei Takaoka. And a corner kick coming up for LAFC, our first of the evening for either team. See Javane Brown, the 24-year-old from Kingston, Jamaica. Signed in February after being taken in the MLS Super Draft. Murillo. Given away in the middle of the park, and these are the chances that Vancouver need to capitalize on here. Pushed along for Dahomey. Ball was intended for Brian White at the back post, and the New Jersey native knows exactly how important of a ball that was. But Dahomey couldn't quite connect the dots. However, it will be a corner. But with LAFC so spread out and with so many numbers forward, giving the ball away in that sort of spot is always going to spell disaster, and especially against a side like Vancouver, who are coming off of 5 goals against Montreal and a 5-0 win at the weekend. Not exactly a group you want to give chances to. And now some organizing to do for the 30-year-old from Philadelphia, John McCarthy. Off towards the back post. Back into a dangerous spot, still loose, cleared away, but only a half clearance from Tillman. Flipped in, takes a deflection, now lashed across, and it looked like McCarthy got a touch to it. Indeed he did. And it was Tristan Blackman, the man who was drafted by LAFC, who absolutely thumped that towards the back stick, and McCarthy, who was the hero in MLS Cup last year, with an outstretched paw, and Vancouver will go again from another corner. Gressel, another delivery, back stick again. And Veselinovic a little bit too handsy trying to win the ball. And before the potential handball shout could be heard by Fernando Guerrero, a foul was called the other way. And what a spectacular that save is from John McCarthy. Just barely saw it once it had gotten through the traffic. McCarthy, who ended up winning MVP of MLS Cup against the Philadelphia Union, the club that gave him his first chance in professional soccer, was with them from 2015 through 2018, just 21 appearances during that time under Jim Curtin. Came on as a substitute after Maxime Crépeau left with a horrific injury and was sent off with a red card. And then the rest is in MLS history, and it truly was one of the greatest finals we've ever seen in Major League Soccer and potentially in North America. Drama of the highest order, including a Gareth Bale equalizer with virtually no time remaining. About 15 minutes in, and probably what you could have expected from these two teams. Vancouver happy to let LAFC have the ball if the possession is purposeless. And the Whitecaps looking to hit Steve Cherundolo's group on the counterattack. Meanwhile, Vancouver conceding possession, but stout defensively at the moment. And the offside flag is up. Did have one earlier match tonight in this competition, first leg of a quarterfinal between Motagua, the Honduran Giants, and Tigres, who of course defeated LAFC in the 2020 edition of this competition. Tigres came away 1-0 winners thanks to a goal from Luis Quiñones in the 44th minute right before the halftime whistle. Winner of this match, or this tie I should say, after 2 legs have been played, will take on the winner of Philadelphia Union and Atlas. Daniel Gazdag with a penalty for the Union. And they have a 1-0 lead heading into the second leg. Here's Tillman. Andres Cubas, the 26-year-old of Argentina. So important to what Vanni Sartini is trying to accomplish in the middle of the field. Capable of dictating play as well as being a disruptor on the defensive side of the ball. Blackman. Brown got a touch to it, and Gauld will take over. Gressel in support. Raposo. Direct for Brian White. Aaron Long is there. Julian Gressel, who is very much one of the best distributors of the football in Major League Soccer. Never really settled in his time with DC United, was traded to Vancouver for $900,000 in general allocation money, which I won't bore you with exactly what that is, but we can just pretend like it's monopoly money. And since he's arrived in Vancouver, he's found that assisting flair again, but is playing in a bit more of a central role for Vanni Sartini than years past at DC United and Atlanta United, where he was more employed as either a fullback or a wingback. As Christian Dahomey able to keep it for the Whitecaps. 29-year-old from Bogota, Colombia. No goals yet in MLS or Concacaf Champions League play for the Colombian. Long throwing coming from Ryan Raposo. Helped along by Blackman. Half-hearted effort, but pinball's out. Brown thought about delivery. Whipped in at the back post, and Buanga can just see it out of play. Crystal had 15 goals and 35 assists in his 3 years with Atlanta United. And the Vancouver faithful have been enjoying him and the new additions to the Whitecaps over the past couple of years that have really bolstered this side. And despite missing out on the playoffs in 2022, they're looking to make some noise not only in international competition like Champions League, but also in league play. Broken up by Cubas. Raposo in a bit of hot water. Did well to get it to Tybert. And overtaken by Dahomey. And a little bit too quick from Ryan Gauld. Desperate to try to win it back for his side. Hollingshead calmly finds Diego Palacios. Buanga. Palacios stepping forward. Ilie. Now Buanga in a pocket of space. Thought about hitting it, now cutting it back, and good defensive presence from the Vancouver Whitecaps. It looked like it was Russell Tybert getting involved in breaking it up. Check that, it was Andres Cubas. Now Gauld. Jermaine Brown saw his pass cut out and will stay with Vancouver. Palacios got a touch to it and then gets it back from Ilie. Shouts for a handball. Tybert again. With a timely intervention. And Cubas quickly over to Julian Gressel. Early delivery angle towards Brian White. And easy enough for McCarthy. The risky ball up the middle of the field, but it paid off, although the risk versus reward wasn't exactly something that Steve Cherundolo, I'm sure, would roll the dice on again. Aaron Long. Knocked down for Upuku. Ilie. Vancouver sagging off extremely deep. And Vanni Sartini recognizing that perhaps the energy levels and concentration dropped on that play, and Ilya had all sorts of time and space to drive right at that block of 4 that Vancouver had set up. Only about 10 yards in front of their own penalty area. Thankfully for the home side, Carlos Vela couldn't quite connect the back heel. Just the 3rd all-time appearance in Concacaf Champions League since the shift to the modern era in 2008 for Vancouver. Talked about their run to the semifinals and eventual bowing out to Tigres in the 16-17 version. Vela was fouled, and Fernando Guerrero will address it retroactively. But before that, the offside flag is up. And that's exactly what Andres Cubas is going to bring to the table. Raposo has a lot of green to operate with. Dahomey. Russell Tybert. Early delivery is denied. Carlos Vela tracking back, the skipper fulfilling his duties. Veselinovic. Javane Brown. Awkward to handle. Brian White did well. Cubas. Tybert. Hospital ball from the Argentine. And it will be a free kick for the Whitecaps. Cubas slow to get to his feet. Came up to the Boca Juniors Academy and made a handful of appearances for the senior side in his time in Boca's camp from 2014 to 2018. Then was with Talleres in Argentina in the Primera Division and was bought for almost $3.5 million by Nems in France. Represents Paraguay at the international level after helping out the Argentina youth sides early on in his career. Something from the training ground here. Gauld towards the back post. Dahomey sends it across. Effort is knocked off the backside of, it looks like Aaron Long, who's down for LAFC. Might have prevented a real goal-scoring opportunity, and all sorts of chaos is breaking out now in British Columbia. Meanwhile, LAFC trying to break out on the other end. And Fernando Guerrero has some things to sort out here. Let's see if Aaron Long is okay to start. And unbeknownst to him, he might have made a huge defensive play. And for those of you who have seen the soccer gag video with Scott Sterling, where fictional character gets hit a number of times in goal, it's going to feel eerily reminiscent. And that's what the crowd is laughing at here at BC Place, in that the strike from Javane Brown came off of Aaron Long while he was prone on the ground. That's how good of a defender Aaron Long is. He doesn't even need to be looking or upright in order to help out his team on the defensive side of the ball. And if you're not familiar with Scott Sterling, I just gave you your homework for the night once this game is concluded. Tybert wanted to go quickly the other way, and perhaps a bit too quickly. Had loads of time and space, decided to take it on the first time and concede possession back in a moment where perhaps Vancouver could have stirred something up that was a little bit more enticing. Acosta. Tillman just shed it off the ball. Raposo. Javane Brown is looking for an option, didn't necessarily have one, and forced to go negative. Tristan Blackman. Kubas. Great football here from Vancouver. Patient, crisp, and the commentators curse in full effect as they give the ball away. Nearly a half an hour gone here at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tyler Terran's on hand for this first leg of the quarterfinals of the 2023 Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. So glad that you've been able to join us wherever you might be in the world. And well, we might not have a score, certainly some interesting storylines and intriguing tactics. And it's not for a lack of trying. Both teams have thrown numbers forward when they've had the opportunity. LAFC have dominated the possession statistic, but it's really been a lack of quality and crispness from both sides when the moment is asking the most of them, hence the 0-0 scoreline. But that might all change here, as this has been a pragmatic buildup, and now Hollingshead finding his way through, and a challenge right at the last snuffed out the opportunity. Now Brian White might be on his way. McCarthy well off of his line, and hits the safety valve. Brown dealing with Boanga, and able to win a throw-in as well, and that is some bullish work from the man from Kingston, Jamaica, who was a standout at the University of South Florida, drafted 23rd overall in the MLS Super Draft, which is effectively an opportunity for teams in Major League Soccer to pick kids out of the collegiate system in whichever order they choose. And Javane Brown, despite being the 23rd overall pick, has made himself an invaluable piece of this Vancouver makeup. Takaoka weighted that perfectly for Raposo, and even more so for Dahomey the other way. Bit disjointed from LAFC defensively, but the same could be said on the ball for Vancouver. And there's the lack of quality that we were just speaking about a moment ago. Of course, both of these teams did play over the weekend. Vancouver a 5-0 win over their Canadian rivals Montreal, and a 0-0 draw for LAFC on the road against the Colorado Rapids. Vela. So difficult to bump him off the ball. Wants to go direct the other way. Opoku poked away by Veselinovic, but just momentarily. And the Ghanaian circles back around for Ryan Hollingshead. Vela. Great looking ball. Boanga on the first time, and it just trickles wide. The vision and technique from the Mexican Vela was superb, and the execution on the tail end of that play from Boanga, escaping him. And that was not the cleanliness and lethal touch we saw from Boanga in the first leg against Alajuelense. And Takaoka realizing that the defense was a bit too brittle there. And while it was a great ball from Vela, perhaps a bit too easy on the side of the group that's wearing white. Blackman stepping forward with a thumping header. Good energy from Ryan Gauld and company. And now things starting to ratchet up a bit. Iliet. Boanga. Big switch. Intended for Vela, intercepted by Raposo. And Russell Tybert scrambling back to snuff out the LAFC attack, and a whistle in favor of Vancouver, and Vanni Sartini irate with his group right now. Well, that's the biggest chance of the night so far, perhaps outside of the strike from Tristan Blackman that was denied by the outstretched paw and perhaps a overgrown fingernail of John McCarthy. Shouts for a handball. Murillo, as well as Fernando Guerrero, will play on. Ilie. Palacios. Further ahead for Dennis Bouanga. Acosta and Opoku in support. Finds the Ghanaian. Tillman wants it back, intercepted by Raposo. Only as far as Hollingshead, though. Novella, similar looking pattern. Takaoka, fantastic with his feet. That's the second time he's been able to pick out Raposo, although he's not happy and thought that the ball didn't travel out of play. And his coach, Vanni Sartini, of similar belief. Takaoka with plenty of winning experience at the international club competition level. Won the AFC Champions League with Marinos and was named to the best 11 side in the J League in 2022. He's got one clean sheet this year in league play, and that came against Montreal in this weekend's 5-0 drubbing of the group from Quebec. Here's Gauld, matched up with Aaron Long. Wanted to go right at the U.S. international. And it was a great idea for Christian Daume. Or perhaps that was Shane Brown. Indeed it was. Now 10 minutes remaining until the halftime whistle. Still no score between the Vancouver Whitecaps and LAFC, the Canadian champions and the MLS Cup champions. Duking it out for a spot in the semifinals. This is the first of two legs. We will play the return leg a week from tonight at BMO Stadium in the City of Angels. But it's been a demonic start to this first leg with no score and some gritty physical play, but overall a lack of quality that we've seen from both sides in this tournament thus far. Kellen Acosta. Palacios. Aaron Long wanting to switch the point of attack. Able to do so and picks out Ryan Hollingshead beautifully. Just poked along for Opoku. Timothy Tillman. Ilie. Stout defensive shape and a pragmatic approach from LAFC. Vanni Sartini continues to direct traffic from the technical area. And they have forced LAFC into some possession in the middle third and their own defensive third. Now looking to break a couple of lines here with Vela. And they are adamant about working down this right-hand side and the left-hand side of the Vancouver defense. Feeling like perhaps they have a mismatch with Opuku and Vela over on this right-hand side. Here's the Ghanaian again. Switching it for Boanga, but intercepted by Brown. And he has a tall task in dealing with Boanga, the former Saint Etienne striker. And he's dealt with it and then some in the first 38 minutes of this contest. Deceptive from Ilie. Direct from Palacios. Now Boanga. Acosta. Just bullied off the ball by the man from Aberdeen, Ryan Gauld. And they weren't exactly exchanging dinner plans, Fernando Guerrero and Diego Palacios. Steve Cherundolo defending his Ecuadorian fullback. That's just a strong, hard challenge that you learn when you're about 4 years old in Scotland. Header won by Murillo. Brian White felt like he was fouled. Tristan Blackman has it covered. And gets it back from Raposo. Touched along. Christian Dahomey. Gauld flips it towards the back post. Didn't get enough underneath it, but the repress from Vancouver enough to win the ball back. And now Gressel with time and space to deliver. Kubas. Why not? Wasn't a bad effort, but never challenging John McCarthy. Vancouver inching further and further up the field and attempting to draw their line in confrontation. A little bit closer to LAFC's defensive third. Acosta. Brought down by Hollingshead. Intended target was Opuku, but it remains with the black and gold. Up next for both of these teams, some typical tests. LAFC will play host to Austin FC, who of course were bounced from this competition by the Cinderella story of Violette from Haiti. And Vancouver will play host to the Portland Timbers, part of the Cascadia Cup and those great rivalries in the Northwest. of the Major League Soccer region that includes Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. Hollingshead with a neat little chop back into the inside. Vela. Palacios. Buanga. A lot of work to go in negative fashion, but remains on the ball. LAFC really struggling to break down this rigid Vancouver group. They've been disciplined tonight, but as we know with this Steve Cherundolo-led side, all they need is one moment to punish you, and then once you're forced to open up and chase the game, that's when LAFC can truly bury you. And there is a very real reason as to why they lead Major League Soccer in the past 5 years since they've entered MLS, since 2018. Lead the league in points, goals, and wins. Opuku, chased down by Raposo, but it does result in a corner for the visitors. Big moment here right before the halftime whistle. Vela on top of a corner. Won by Veselinovic, and then again by Gressel. Acosta battling. Step from Brown. And now here come the Vancouver Whitecaps. Interrupted by Tillman. Raposo applying pressure, and Tillman needed to be sure. 24-year-old from Nuremberg, Germany. Came up to the Bayern Academy, was being hunted down by Raposo. He was drafted 4th overall in 2020, coming out of Syracuse University in upstate New York. Came up to the Toronto FC Academy for a period, was labeled too small and too skinny. And eventually found his way to Syracuse and then even further a Major League Soccer and put some of those negative attributes to bed. Gressel loses the ball in the middle of the field, but wins it back. Industrious from the German, still going with it. Raposo lashes it across, but Brian White, Ryan Gauld were a little bit late to the party. As we are halfway through the 1 minute stoppage time. And that will bring the first half to a close. LAFC in Vancouver, no score here in British Columbia, as the Canadian champions and MLS Cup champions have yet to find a breakthrough. Some good defensive work from Vancouver. LAFC in possession most of the first 45 minutes, but really without any true purpose, without any true quality. And Vancouver, when they have tried to strike on the counterattack, missing that same sort of quality that the visitors are. At the half between LAFC and Vancouver in this first leg of the quarterfinals of Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League, it's Vancouver 0 and LAFC 0. Just about ready for the start of the second half here at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia, as LAFC, the reigning MLS Cup winners, and perhaps the favorite of a Major League Soccer side to get to this year's final of Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League, engaged in a 0-0 draw at the moment with the Vancouver Whitecaps, the reigning Canadian champions, who despite their pedestrian play and league play have looked mighty sharp in this competition, at least through the first two legs of the round of 16. And now even in this first leg of the quarterfinal, they've looked resilient on the defensive side of the ball. They have picked and chosen their spots, but again, the quality seems to be lacking them. That will continue to be a theme until we see otherwise. For Carlos Vela and LAFC, they had some moments trying to break down Vancouver in possession, but Vancouver have failed to find Brian White, the speedy 27-year-old out of Flemington, New Jersey. He was a product of Duke University, one of the better soccer programs at the collegiate level in America, as Christian Dahomey and Carlos Vela sharing a moment that I imagine will be the last pleasant one for the remaining 45 minutes of this game. Again, Tyler Terran's on hand. So glad that you could join us wherever you might be tuning in on the globe. Fernando Guerrero just waiting for the official word to get this second half underway and to get this party restarted. Second leg will be a week from tonight in Los Angeles at BMO Stadium, but 45 more minutes to play here at BC Place. Winner of this tie, after the second leg concludes, will take on the winner of Atlas and the Philadelphia Union. Could potentially have a rematch of MLS Cup in the semifinals of Concacaf Champions League. How juicy would that be? Raposo. And Vancouver starting out on the front foot. Julian Gressel. Tristan Blackman, who generated one of the better chances of the first half, even though they were few and far in between. Jermaine Brown looking to be a bit more direct. Ilya got a touch to it. Russell Tybert winning it back from Opuku. And Vancouver making 4 changes from their 5-0 drubbing of Montreal at the weekend. LAFC only making 1 change from their 0-0 draw against the Colorado Rapids. That game was at altitude in Denver. So we'll see exactly how long either coach, Steve Cherundolo of LAFC and Vanni Sartini of Vancouver, will wait to make some changes and insert some fresh legs into the story. Tybert making his first start in all competitions in 2023 after undergoing ankle surgery on October 22nd of last year. Now it's Jermaine Brown. Dahomey trying to peel it back, and a good defensive recovery run from Kellen Acosta. And that's why he is adored by U.S. men's national team fans. Ended up making appearances against Wales and Iran. But he is such a hard worker in the middle of the park. Dahomey. Out of the reach of Gauld. Bouanga. So casual on the ball, and perhaps a bit too casual. Gressel angled towards White and won by Long. Now Tybert. Gauld. Gets it back from White. Punched in towards Raposo from Tristan Blackman, and the 24-year-old couldn't quite cast it underneath his spell. LAFC have started off this first half extremely sloppy on the ball. That's the second or third giveaway in their own defensive third in clear-cut possession. Raposo towards White, brought down. Dahomey, Gressel, back for Dahomey, and just sealed off enough by Aaron Long. Referee says play on. Julian Gressel wasn't exactly sure if there was going to be a whistle and looked a little bit rushed with the ensuing pass. Given away by Los Angeles FC again. Gauld towards Brian White. McCarthy off of his line, and it's just wide. Another warning shot from Vancouver. And another instance of LAFC perhaps taking their foot way off the gas pedal at the start of this second half. They were so dominant on the ball in the first 45 minutes, and they have been anything but clean at the start of this second half, and McCarthy needed to be really careful there as Brian White was entitled to that ball initially. First time that we've seen LAFC even creep into Vancouver's defensive third in the first 5 minutes of this second half.
Is everybody going?
Blackman. And Timer commits the foul. For LAFC, of course, unfinished business after that epic collapse against Tigres in the second half of the 2020 final down in Orlando. Led by a score of 1-0. And eventually would find themselves on the wrong side of a 2-1 scoreline. Hugo Ayala scoring in the 72nd, just after LAFC took the lead in the 70th, and then Andre Pierre-Gignac in the 84th. They had one of the toughest roads to that final in 2020, beating León, Cruz Azul, and Club America. Almost took down a fourth Mexican giant. Here's Hollingshead. Boanga thought he had a beat on it momentarily. Now it's Kelvin Acosta. This is more like it from LAFC. Boanga. Hollingshead again. Tillman. Great feet from the German. Keeps it in play. Or did he? Ball traveled out and a goal kick. Palacios trying to rid Ryan Gauld. Forced to go back to McCarthy. Pressure coming from Brian White. See you later. Tillman got it right back from Tybert. Palacios coming inside. This is what LAFC love to do. Now it's Boanga. Quick little step over, across, loose in front, and cleared away by Veselinovic. Veselinovic into space for Gressel. Palacios forced to play it. Kept in the neighborhood by Vanni Sartini with a big Italian paw. Such a big personality. Direct towards White again. Beautiful cushion header. Gold on the first time, and that had eyes for goal. Now Gressel. Time and space to deliver. Tillman beaten to it by Tybert. Kubas finding Ryan Raposo. And Raposo feeling like Ryan Hollingshead got bailed out by the whistle there. Bouanga. Hollingshead again in space on that right flank. Bouanga from a long way out. Oh, that is sensational. It is that kind of tournament for Dennis Bouanga. His fourth of the competition, and it is an absolute thunderbolt north of the border, and LAFC take a 1-0 lead. Golazo! Well, you always felt like it was going to take a moment of individual brilliance to unlock either defense, and Dennis Bouanga, with Takaoka just a few steps off of his line. It's not angled towards one side or the other. It is straight down the middle, but that had all sorts of knuckle dip and swerve on it. And just a little smooch on the underside of the crossbar. And Dennis Bouanga with a real love affair at the moment with the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League, and LAFC have our breakthrough in the 57th minute. Wow. And we talked about when LAFC get the first goal and you're forced to then go after the game against this group, you can really expose yourself and render yourself in a spot where you could give up 2, 3, maybe 4. And now the question is, how will Vancouver respond? What does it look like tactically from Vanni Sartini's side? Because of course it is a big away goal with that rule being implemented back into the competition. Peeled back, chance for Vancouver to equalize, and the chance goes begging. Christian Dahomey falling away from goal, never really had his balance. Here's Bouanga again. Vancouver stretched. Bouanga cutting it back. Was he fouled? Fernando Guerrero had a front row seat, and he's not buying any of what Bouanga apparently was selling. VAR is a factor, so they will take a look. But for the moment, on the field, it is called a no foul. So Fernando Guerrero will say, let's continue to play. But Dennis Bouanga having his way with that right-hand side of the Vancouver defense at the moment. And after such a sluggish start for the visitors in this second half, Dennis Bouanga bringing them back to life with an absolute missile in the 55th minute. In towards Vela. Acosta sensing the space centrally. He'll go for goal. Galt got it away and got it back from Gressel. One back by LAFC. Bouanga. Bottled up by Cubas. Chance here. Opuku, and it's 2-0. LAFC taking advantage of a mistake at the back from Vancouver. And they've doubled their lead, another precious away goal. And just past the hour mark, Los Angeles FC are cruising. Kwadwo Opuku saying, look what I found. Cubas a little bit too slow on the ball, created by Dennis Bouanga and finished off by the Ghanaian. And Bouanga will most likely get credited with the assist as well, as he got a toe to it. And Opuku with Takaoka off of his line. That's one of the easier goals he's going to score. And he continues to be a menace. So these substitutions had already been planned by Vanni Sartini. And now will be that much more important as Ali Ahmed will come on and replace Russell Tybert. And Simon Betcher, man who's been scoring for fun as of late, will come on as well. The two youngsters being named to MLS Team of the Week for their performances against Montreal in that 5-0 drubbing. Christian Dahomey, an hour's worth of work as well. So Betcher and Ahmed onto the scene to try to help Vancouver pull themselves out of this 2-0 hole, and LAFC flexing their superior Major League Soccer muscles at the moment. And you can sense the confidence now is just oozing out of the pores of LAFC. Gald not on the same wavelength as Betcher immediately off the bench, but Ahmed wants to get forward now with Raposo. So Ahmed immediately injecting some life into this group, 22-year-old from Toronto. Signed his homegrown contract in November of 2022, right after the season ended. Cleared away by Murillo. Opuku. Looking ever dangerous. Tillman. Vela. Bouanga. Great little cutback. It's Bouanga! Oh, he is something else. He really is. LAFC running away with it at BC Place, and Bouanga is having himself a goal-scoring bonanza. It's 3-0. Catch him if you can in the Golden Boot race. And LAFC might be looking to punch their ticket into the semifinals before they even get back to Los Angeles. Quick feet, devastating finish. What more do you want from this guy? He sent 3 different Vancouver defenders all the way back to the dressing room, and then an emphatic finish with his left foot. And look who's loving every single minute of it. The Italian legend Chiellini in the middle of every celebration, as he typically is. And Dennis Bouanga with his 5th goal of the competition, his 2nd of the night after scoring a hat-trick in the first leg of the round of 16. He is tearing this tournament up. Gressel desperately trying to get Vancouver back into the game. And we talked about when you open yourself up against LAFC, just how quickly it can get out of hand. Now it's Palacios. And LAFC happy to just probe and prod and toy with this Vancouver group, who have been rendered more than vulnerable tonight. What a tall task that will await Vancouver at BMO Stadium next week. Excellent from Tillman. LAFC hungry for more. Bouanga. Veselinovic wouldn't be fooled this time. So we're going to have a couple of more substitutions from Vanni Sartini. Luis Martins will come on in addition to Pedro Vite. Raposo will make way in the 68th minute. And the man from Hamilton, Ontario, fought well, fought hard. But this back line from Vancouver has been picked apart for the past 10-15 minutes. And Ryan Gauld will take a seat as well, and being replaced by Pedro Vite, the 21-year-old from Babahoyo, Ecuador. And now if you're Vancouver, it's just a matter of trying to find a goal and just trying to find a way to close the gap before you head to BMO Stadium, one of the more difficult places to play, not only in Major League Soccer, but in Concacaf, period. And now 2 substitutions from Steve Cherundolo. His first 2 changes of the night come right before the 70th minute mark. It'll be Eric Dueñas to come on. 18-year-old out of Los Angeles and a homegrown. Actually made his MLS debut against Vancouver back on October 14th of 2020. Just has 8 minutes in that 0-0 draw against Seattle earlier this year in Major League Soccer play. And Stipe Biuk onto the scene as well. 20-year-old from Split, Croatia. And Ahmed is fouled by Dueñas. Gressel fires it in. Becher. Brown. Whipping it in. Good looking ball, won by Aaron Long. Bouanga. Didn't quite come off. Vite stepping forward. Veselinovic. Brown. Serbian center back getting forward. Receives it back from Brown. Good ball all the way across, and it was almost an own goal. Ryan Hollingshead needed to be really careful there. Becher made the run at the near post that caused all sorts of panic for the LAFC back line. And with 20 minutes remaining, Vancouver can still make this just a bit easier when they head to BMO Stadium next week. But it will take some doing. Vite. Gressel whips it in. Great looking ball, and Simon Becher's header just over the crossbar. And with the form that he's been in as of late, everyone at BC Place hoping that that was going to ripple the back of the net. Well, that's what you expect from Gressel, but you expect a little bit more from Simon Becher, who's been turning some heads in Major League Soccer. Recorded a brace in his first Major League Soccer start against Club de Foot Montreal. Just making his second appearance, though, in Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. Played 14 minutes in that second leg against Real España in the round of 16 as Biuk and his delivery denied by Tristan Blackman. And a corner kick coming up for LAFC, who are very much looking at insult to injury. And we're hearing that the attendance tonight here at BC Place, a little north of 11,000. And it will most likely be a majority of an unhappy 11,000. Bouanga. Great ball at the back post, and Aaron Long got a touch to it. It was almost four, and it was almost created again by Bouanga, who's got 2 goals and an assist tonight. Good football here from Vancouver. Ali Ahmed so busy and so good off the ball. Now looking for Becher. Dueñas muscled off the ball. Now Gressel thought about hitting it. Falls for Becher. Tries to flick it along for Gressel. bit too cute. And Javane Brown bottled up by Diego Palacios. Well, it all went wrong in a matter of about 12 minutes for Vanni Sartini. Lifted in. Up into the night sky by Ryan Hollingshead. Betcher looking for the acrobatic finish, but always going to be difficult. To recap the scoring, it was Bouanga in the 55th, Opoku in the 61st, and Bouanga again in the 65th. 10 minutes of chaos that have ultimately seen Vancouver thwarted out of this tie, despite what would be an epic comeback that could potentially start tonight, but would need to be finished at BMO Stadium. And Steve Cherundolo knows exactly how big that goal was. Because if the scoreline were to remain the same and it would finish 3-0 here in British Columbia, Vancouver would have to win the game outright in Los Angeles. And if they were to hold LAFC scoreless, they would need to win the game 4-0. Vite. Ali Ahmed, he has been so good since he came on. Bouanga. He's just feeling himself. Even when he's off balance and loose with the ball, he still manages to keep it for his side. Now it's Dueñas. Buke. Croatian challenging, going for goal, and Takaoka smothering it in the end. Gressel. Now Javane Brown. The Jamaican with a delicious looking ball. Ilie back to defend though. Kellen Acosta. They're very much on cruise control now, LAFC, and they will be all the way back to Los Angeles. Up 3-0, 3 away goals in their back pocket. They will take all sorts of confidence into their next fixture in Major League Soccer play at home against Austin. And then, of course, we'll do it all over again on Tuesday, April 11th against the Whitecaps to finish things off and march on to the semifinals. And the Whitecaps certainly do have the capability to score in bunches, but they have not shown it tonight. And a familiar name in Concacaf, Sebastian Berhalter, is going to come onto the scene, and he replaces Julian Gressel, who you could tell by his body language, a frustrating night to say the least. And the son of the former head coach of the U.S. men's national team, Greg Berhalter, comes onto the scene here in the 79th minute. course, still a possibility that Greg Berhalter could end up being the next head coach of the U.S. as Biuk sends it across, and Bouanga was looking for a second hat trick in this tournament. An insatiable appetite for goal. Ali Ahmed splits two defenders. Excellent balance and skill from the youngster. And the 22-year-old from Toronto, despite his team being down 3 goals when he came onto the field, or 2 goals, I should say, he is playing like it is a 0-0 game in a final. Only as far as Pedro Vite. In towards Betcher, and came off the backside of his head. Big switch for Biuk. Bouanga lost it. Now trying to win it back over Javane Brown. Tristan Blackman creeping forward. Fall kindly here for Vancouver, just out of the reach of Berhalter. And it's going to be Palencia who comes on and replaces Bouanga here in the 83rd minute, and what a performance from the Frenchman. 28 years old, now has 5 goals in the tournament and an assist tonight as well. He has had a hand in every piece of the scoring for LAFC on the night, and has virtually willed this club into the semifinals before we've even played a second leg. And replaced by Palencia here in the 84th minute. Back in from Berhalter, stabbed away by Murillo, and even further away by Ilie, although not that convincing. Well, here's what Bouanga was able to do tonight. That was the first goal in the 55th minute, and then he was able to create the second one just a few moments later, finished off by the Ghanaian Opoku. And then check this out. Taxi. We're headed back to LA. A special, special night for the Frenchman. Buke over the top, beautiful ball. LAFC, and again here, Palencia denied by Takaoka. His last touch was ever so cumbersome and allowed the Japanese goalkeeper to be able to get a couple hands on it. Betcher just bullied off the play by Aaron Long. Here's another look, and that touch right there did not exactly set him up for glory. Five minutes remaining plus stoppage time. Vancouver with a rather epic mountain to climb in the second leg if it does stay this way. A credit to LAFC, who started out the second half extremely out of character. Loose on the ball. Less than convincing on the defensive side of the ball. But after a couple of warning shots from Vancouver, they woke up in a big way, but it really was the strike from Dennis Boanga in the 55th minute that woke up the 2020 finalists in this competition and sent them on their way. And then it was an absolute flurry of pressure, quality, and lethality from Steve Cherundolo's side. For Vancouver, not exactly a death sentence, but they would have to mount one of the more biblical comebacks that we've seen in this competition against such a strong outfit. And the word continues to be on this LAFC side that there really are not any weaknesses, which is a difficult thing to say about a Major League Soccer club because of all the restrictions that they have when building a roster, because of all the parity that is being preached by the MLS HQ in New York. For them to be this solid all around the field, to have depth at multiple positions with those financial hindrances, and all for the best intentions from a competition standpoint. And that has been the cry from Major League Soccer technical staffs for years, was that they simply just didn't have the resources and the capabilities to compete with Mexican clubs that are competing in an open market, more or less. But now that we've seen a Major League Soccer side win the modern era of Champions League in the Seattle Sounders a year ago, and now that we see the type of team that LAFC can put together, those cries really can't be heard for much longer. Now, the destination of the club that's wearing black and gold tonight makes it a little bit more desirable for a professional footballer. You're going to be hard-pressed to convince some of the best talent in the world that come from the likes of South America and Europe, some of the best young talent, which is exactly what LAFC are doing. The Diego Rossi's, the Brian Rodriguez's, convincing an aging Gareth Bale to come to Los Angeles. You're not having to do much convincing. It is a recruitment tool that not many other cities have. there's 3 that come to mind: New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. And one of the teams in New York doesn't even play in New York. And the team in Miami has problems of their own when it comes to roster building. But here's Simon Betcher. Closed down by 2 different defenders. Now pushes it along for Ali Ahmed. Was he fouled? The initial answer is no. Fernando Guerrero claiming that it was all ball. So with all those things said, yes, you can build a proper team that can compete in this competition in Major League Soccer, but there's a clear distinction between Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and the rest of the league. Tristan Blackman. 3 minutes of stoppage time to be had here in British Columbia. Berhalter, good vision. Veselinovic from the center back position puts it across the frame, and a save from John McCarthy. Biuk touches it along. Now it's Palencia. Murillo to his right, getting forward. Another center back wanted to get in on the fun. Cuts it back. Palencia on the first time, and it almost snuck in. Takaoka made the save. But like the rest of the fans who were watching here at BC Place, was hoping and praying that that ball did not skirt its way in across the line. But how about Murillo? When your center back is chopping the ball like that, behind his standing leg and threading the needle, I think you're playing with a bit of confidence. Outside of about a 10-minute spurt to start the second half, LAFC have been dominant tonight. Sure, there have been mistakes. Sure, there are things that Steve Cherundolo wants to clean up. But for them to make one change from their 0-0 draw against Colorado at the weekend and dominate in the fashion that they did is very telling of where this group is so early on in the season. From a fitness standpoint, from a tactical understanding standpoint, and simply from a collectivity standpoint. This is clearly a dressing room that has already begun to gel with so many new pieces. And the rich continue to get richer as they announce the signing of Mateusz Bogusz, the young Polish central attacking midfielder who can play a multitude of positions. Signed on March 31st, and he should be available in the coming days. Palacios finding Vela. Biuk at the back post, and Vela's delivery well off the mark. And a wry smile from Biuk as the Croatian winger knows that an opportunity was missed by the Mexican. Direct the other way is Vancouver, broken up by Murillo, and that will be one of the last moves of the night. And that will do it full time from BC Place, and it could not come sooner for Vancouver. A night to remember in Canada for Dennis Bouanga. 2 goals and an assist, give him 5 overall in the tournament. And LAFC will head back to the City of Angels next Tuesday at BMO Stadium with a 3-0 lead and 3 away goals in their back pocket. A clean sheet and a professional performance on the road in a difficult place to play. For everyone here at Concacaf, Tyler Terring saying so long for now. Heading into the second leg, it's LA 3, Vancouver 0.